Well, something huge is happening on November 5th, and I'm not talking about the United States election. In fact, this event got scrubbed from the internet the second that attention was brought to it. Why? Well, because we're talking about a cybersecurity exercise that is taking place on November 5th, which is rather bizarre considering that is our U.S. election day. And it's rather strange. And that's not the only thing I have to share with you guys today. In fact, Kamala Harris has really said some really bad things lately. And they have issued some directives that you absolutely need to know about. And I think that they're going to send chills down your spine. But let's start first with this Homeland Security Critical Infrastructure Conference. Now, for it, I'm going to go to the website right now and what it looks like. I had to go to the Wayback Machine to get the original. Right here we are, 2024 Homeland Security Critical Infrastructure Conference. You can get this at AtlantaAFCEAchapters.org. But you can see this is happening in Atlanta. Homeland Security Conference on Critical Infrastructure, November 6th through the 7th. And I want you to pay attention to what's in between here, because there's some stuff missing right here. And then also here, there's going to be some stuff missing. But I went back to the archive and said, okay, let's go back a day. I want to see what they scrubbed. Well, take a look. This is the Atlanta, the same website, right? But this is, I believe, a day or so prior. And here it is. Notice the difference. 2024 Homeland Security Critical Infrastructure Conference. And you see all the same information as this one, but what's missing? With a large-scale tabletop cybersecurity exercise on November 12th, 2024. And I'm going to go back to the old one here, and you can see that is absolutely missing from the current one. So again, the only way to get this information is if you go to Archive Today or some kind of Wayback Machine to get it. But that is absolutely missing from the page. Now, not only that, but if you scroll down here, pretty much all that is the same, talking about the speakers. You scroll down, all of this is the same information, but between here and here, there's more information that is missing. So between, if you go back to the Wayback Machine, between here and here, there's this little section, right? And it says, we are working on a pre-conference Jack Volatak style cybersecurity exercise inspired by the Army Cyber Institute. It will involve representatives from federal, state, county, and municipal agencies, academia, and industry. The exercise will include mock scenarios and engage participants directly. The idea is to understand how to better prepare and respond to events. No networks are harmed or even touched during these exercises. Now, I see the importance of these exercises. Obviously, I want to be ready, but how bizarre that it's now been removed. And then I thought, well, maybe the entire event got shifted and they're not doing it anymore. But I went to the current website, right? So back to the current website. This is not on the archive page. And if you scroll into their 2024 agenda, it's actually still on the agenda. This has not been swiped as of now. And it says on November 5th, participants from federal, state, and local agencies in a large-scale cybersecurity tabletop exercise focus on critical infrastructure. So there you have it. It is absolutely still on their website. Now, before I dive in, just a quick break from my sponsor. Nobody likes getting older, but what if you didn't have to get weaker as you age and instead you got stronger? In fact, celebrity fitness trainer Tony Horton believes he can make that impossibility a reality. Quote, it's actually a lot simpler than you might think. Horton, who is 66, told us, it's a method anyone can do that takes about 1 or 2 minutes a day. And within a very short period of time, you can start to feel stronger and probably healthier than you have in years. Well, the truth is, almost everybody begins experiencing some degree of muscle loss between the ages 40 and 50. But the good news is, and as Tony Horton says, he has found a much more effective way to combat this age-related muscle loss and even build muscle. Now, he has created this video, and I want to encourage you guys to watch it. All you have to do is go to www.tonyprotein.com/haven. That's tonyprotein.com/haven and watch this video for yourself. Not only that, but I want to encourage you to really check it out. It has done amazing things in my life personally. personally. If you want more information, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. And as with any new method, individual results can vary. All right, back to the broadcast. So here's my thoughts on the whole thing, right? Number one, we have to ask ourselves, why did they feel the need to delete it on one side, yet it's still on the agenda? And the second question I ask is, why did they even put it there in the first place? I mean, that is, after all, a fairly big day. And you're talking about some kind of cybersecurity exercise that you're going to be running. It just doesn't really add up in my brain, I guess. So my thought is either A, they second guess themselves, hey, that's not a good idea. We're not going to have it. And maybe there were some changes made to the schedule, which could be a possibility, or they got backlash. They were worried about it and removed it. Who knows? But either way, parts of it have at least been scrubbed while parts of it are still on there. I'm not sure what's going on. Now, with that, there is some really terrifying developments regarding Kamala Harris. In fact, she has gotten more and more extreme with her rhetoric against Donald J. Trump. And it really is a terrifying thought, because I think the way that she's saying stuff and the way that she's portraying it really puts Donald Trump at risk, and I think that she needs to stop with the rhetoric, because this could, pray to God it doesn't, but it could encourage more people to go after Donald J. Trump. And that's obviously not something we want for her or him, right? I don't want anybody to have attempts on their life whatsoever. But this is what she is currently saying. And bear with me, because she's a complete ironic hypocrite on this. Take a listen to what she says about Trump being like Hitler.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within.
Now, that is pretty extreme rhetoric. She's talking about the former chief of staff, John Kelly. Number one, there's no evidence, zero evidence that Donald Trump said that. In fact, he has denied it a lot, right? But to say this former chief of staff claims it doesn't mean it's true. Yet she's out there spouting hearsay that has not been proven fact from her little pulpit there. Not only that, but as you saw, and I've shared some of this information before, she goes on to say Donald Trump wants to stick the military on basically civilians, American citizens. And what you didn't hear in that clip is she references judges, jurors, political opponents, and the whole nine yards, which is completely bogus. Donald Trump never referenced that he would do that. But the irony of this entire thing is the fact that her Department of Defense, well, there is a directive that has just been signed by her administration, Directive 5240.01. And I've talked about this directive already, but for those of you who may not have heard it, it basically gives the military the authority to use legal force against American citizens, which has always been illegal and not acceptable, with the approval, right, of the Secretary of Defense. In fact, I'm very proud of RFK, who brought the irony to our attention.
President Harris said today in her post, in her speech, she said that President Trump was going to turn the U.S. military against the American public and use the public to promote his agenda. How many of you think that is true?
I want to pause it right there for a second because even the crowd knows it's not true. But unfortunately, there's a lot of Democrats out there who actually believe it. But he expands.
Well, what's interesting to me is that the Biden-Harris administration has done something 2 weeks ago that has never been done in American history, which is to send exactly lethal force, to send a directive to the Pentagon, changing the law to make it legal for the U.S. military to use lethal force against American citizens on American soil. Technically, now it's legal for the U.S. military under this directive. It will become legal for the U.S. military to shoot and kill Americans who engage in political protests because they disagree with policies in the White House. I'm not making this up. Any of you can look it up. This is a Democratic initiative.
What a bold thing to say, because here she is, Kamala Harris, out there saying Donald Trump's going to use the military against the American people, yet he's not the one that signed the directive. He didn't do anything like that under his administration. And just about a month-ish or so ago, your administration signed the directive that authorized exactly that. So to say that Donald Trump's going to do it when, in fact, you've signed a directive on it, someone can call out the irony of that, right? It seems more like they're going to do that over Donald J. Trump. And here's the directive. And I got to bring the receipts for those of you who may not have seen it. I always do. And you can see it here, the DoD Directive 524001. And it's also in the links, by the way. And if you scroll down to page 13, I'm going to give you the page number. You can use that as well. And I'll show you that. This is page 13 at the bottom. But here it says, the Secretary of Defense may approve any type of request permissible assistance described in paragraph 3.2. So with the approval of the Secretary of Defense, there is, in the C part here, assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. Basically, they can assist civil law enforcement in those kinds of situations, and also civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals and groups and all of that. So just like JFK said, there's a protest, boom, they can do this. Why would you sign that directive with one hand, Kamala Harris, and then with your mouth spout that Donald Trump is going to do that when he hasn't signed? It's not Trump's directive. This is very clearly Kamala's directive. And I think Donald Trump should start making attention to that, and more attention to that, because she is out there spouting lies. If Donald Trump wanted to do something like that, he would have done it in his first 4 years of office. He never did, right? But here she is. Her administration has rounded up. Steve Bannon is now in jail for things that for crimes that Democrats have committed. Not to mention Michael Flynn was, and many of Donald Trump's associates and people who have worked around him. And not to mention J6ers, right? Who got extreme penalties over anyone in the Summer of Love protests. In fact, she bailed some of those protesters out. And she wants to hide that from the public as well. But either way, this is insane. She is speaking out of her mouth. While claiming Trump is going to do something, she's actually passing directives that allow that. One has to question, what's the real motive of Kamala Harris? Anyhow, I love you all. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.